Before we begin, I want you to do something simple. Take one slow breath. Feel your shoulders drop. Notice this present moment. This is where peace lives. Not in yesterday's regrets. Not in tomorrow's worries. Right here. Right now. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that we suffer not because life is difficult, but because we scatter our attention everywhere except where it belongs, within ourselves. Today, we explore why focusing on yourself is not selfish, but essential. Why staying silent is not a weakness, but a profound strength. And why, when you finally choose yourself completely, does life begin to open doors you never knew existed? So stay with me. Let these words wash over you gently. You are exactly where you need to be. Part 1. Why your attention is your most valuable currency. Buddhist teachings on mindful energy. Imagine holding a golden bowl filled with pure, crystal clear water. This water represents your attention, your mental and emotional energy, the very fuel of your existence. Every morning, you wake up with this bowl full to the brim, shimmering with possibility. But then, the day begins. You check your phone before your feet even touch the ground. A comment from someone bothers you. Splash, some water spills over the edge. You remember a mistake from last week, something you said that you wish you could take back. Splash, more water gone. You start imagining what might go wrong tomorrow, next week, next year. Splash, splash, splash. By noon, your bowl is nearly empty. And yet, you have not even used that precious energy on anything meaningful. It has simply leaked away, drop by drop, to things that do not deserve it. This is how most of us live. We give our attention to everyone and everything except ourselves. We hand over our peace to strangers on the internet who do not even know our names. We donate our clarity to old regrets that cannot be changed. We invest our energy into futures that exist only in our worried minds, futures that may never come to pass. The Buddha once said, "What we think, we become." But let us go deeper into this wisdom. What we give our attention to, we give our life to. Where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, reality grows. In ancient texts, the Buddha often spoke about the importance of guarding the mind like a soldier guards a fortress. In the Dhammapada, he taught, "More than those who hate you, more than all your enemies, an undisciplined mind does greater harm." Think about this for a moment. Your greatest enemy is not out there in the world. It is not the person who wronged you or the situation that went badly. Your greatest challenge sits between your own two ears, an untrained mind that scatters your precious attention like seeds thrown carelessly into the wind. Your attention is not just valuable, it is sacred. It is the lens through which you experience every single moment of your existence. When that lens is scattered, life feels chaotic and overwhelming. When that lens is focused, even the most ordinary moment becomes extraordinary and filled with meaning. There is a beautiful Zen teaching that illustrates this perfectly. A young student once approached his master, frustrated and exhausted. He asked, "Master, how do I find peace in this noisy world? Everywhere I turn, there is a distraction. Everyone demands something from me. I feel pulled in 1,000 directions." The master did not answer with words at first. Instead, he walked to the window, picked up a magnifying glass, and held it under the afternoon sun. The scattered sunlight, when focused through that simple piece of glass, became a single point of intense heat, powerful enough to ignite a dry leaf into flame. Then the master spoke softly, "Your mind is like this sunlight, dear student. Scattered across 1,000 concerns, it warms nothing and creates nothing of value. But focused on what truly matters, it can set the whole world ablaze with purpose and meaning." The student understood. It was not the world that needed to change. It was his relationship to his own attention. This is the first invitation. Stop scattering your light across every passing concern. Stop handing your attention to every criticism, every worry, every imagined disaster that your mind creates. Begin collecting yourself. Begin gathering your scattered energy. Begin returning home to your own center, where peace has been waiting for you all along. Because when you protect your attention, you protect your peace. And when you protect your peace, you protect the very quality of your life. Part 2. Self-focus is not selfishness, it is sacred self-responsibility. Now, some might hear the phrase, "focus on yourself," and feel a wave of discomfort. We have been taught since childhood that thinking about ourselves is selfish. That putting our own needs first is somehow wrong or unkind. Good people sacrifice themselves completely for others. But let me offer you a different perspective, a perspective rooted in deep wisdom and compassion. There is an ancient parable about a traveler walking through a dark and dangerous forest at night. He carried a small oil lamp, and its gentle light was just enough to illuminate his own path, one step at a time. Along the way, he met many others who were stumbling in the darkness, bruising themselves against trees and rocks. Some called out to him, "Why do you not give us your lamp? Why do you keep it for yourself? Are you not being selfish?" And the traveler replied with great kindness in his voice, "Dear friends, if I give away my lamp, we will all be lost in the darkness together. None of us will find our way. But if I keep my lamp burning bright, I can walk this path safely, and my light, though small, will help you see the ground beneath your own feet. My light will remind you that light exists, that finding your way is possible." This is the deep truth of self-focus. It is not about ignoring others or being cold to their suffering. It is about ensuring that your own flame is strong enough to be of genuine service. It is about being so full that your overflow naturally nourishes everyone around you. The Buddha himself modeled this truth throughout his life. Before he could teach the path to liberation for all beings, he first had to walk that path himself. Before he could offer the medicine of peace to a suffering world, he first had to discover that medicine within his own being. He spent 6 long years in solitude, in silence, in deep inner work, not because he did not care about the world, but because he knew with absolute clarity that an empty vessel cannot pour anything of value. In the Metta Sutta, the beloved discourse on loving kindness, the Buddha taught that we must first cultivate love for ourselves before we can authentically extend it to others. He said these powerful words, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This is not ego speaking. This is wisdom speaking. When you focus on yourself, you are not abandoning the world or turning your back on those who need you. You are preparing yourself to meet the world with fullness rather than emptiness, with genuine presence rather than exhausted obligation. You are filling your own cup so deeply that your overflow becomes a river that nourishes everyone it touches. Think of it this way, Every time you choose to heal an old wound instead of unconsciously projecting it onto others, you are profoundly serving the world. Every time you choose to calm your own mind instead of adding more noise to the collective chaos, you are offering a great gift. Every time you choose to align with your own values instead of desperately seeking external approval, you are becoming a lighthouse for others who are still lost at sea. Self-focus is self-responsibility. And self-responsibility is one of the highest forms of love that exists. If these words are speaking to something deep within you, if you feel a quiet recognition stirring in your heart, I invite you to become part of this community of seekers. Subscribe to Buddha Coha and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of peace and wisdom. Every video is created with love, with intention, and with the sincere hope that it finds you exactly when you need it most. Now, let us continue this journey together into even deeper waters. Part 3: The Transformative Power of Silence, Buddhist Wisdom on Non-Reaction. There is a kind of strength that the world does not understand. It is not the strength of loud voices demanding attention. It is not the strength of quick comebacks that win arguments. It is not the strength of proving yourself right at every opportunity or defending your position against all challengers. It is the quiet, immovable strength of silence. In our modern world, we are constantly taught that speaking up is power. We are conditioned to believe that every opinion deserves an immediate response. We are told that silence means weakness, defeat, or shameful agreement with things we oppose. But the Buddha taught something very different. He taught something that goes against every instinct our reactive minds possess. He taught that sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. There is a famous story from the Buddhist scriptures that has been passed down for over 2 millennia. A man came to where the Buddha was teaching, filled with burning anger. This man had heard that the Buddha was spreading new teachings that challenged the old ways, and he did not like it one bit. So he traveled a great distance across difficult terrain, found where the Buddha was sitting peacefully under a spreading tree, and began to hurl insults at him. He called the Buddha a fraud and a deceiver. He called his teachings worthless garbage. He shouted and cursed with all his might, spitting words designed to wound, trying desperately to provoke a reaction. But the Buddha simply sat there, calm, unmoved. His face was peaceful, his breathing steady. Like a great mountain meeting a howling wind, present, solid, completely untroubled. When the man finally exhausted himself, his voice hoarse and his energy spent, the Buddha gently asked a simple question: "Tell me, friend, if someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, confused by this unexpected response, thought for a moment and replied, "Well, it would remain with the one who offered it, of course." The Buddha smiled softly, his eyes full of compassion rather than triumph. "Then I do not accept your anger, friend. I do not accept your insults. They remain yours to carry." This story holds a teaching so profound that it can transform your entire life. When we react to every provocation, when we answer every insult with our own, when we defend against every attack with counterattack, we accept burdens that were never ours to carry. We take on the emotions, the chaos, and the negativity of others. We let them pour their poison into our cup, and then we drink it. But when we remain silent, when we choose not to react, when we let the arrows pass through space, we remain free. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is fullness of the deepest kind. It is full of dignity that needs no defense. Full of self-respect that requires no proof. Full of inner knowing that seeks no validation. When you speak less, you hear more clearly. When you react less, you see more deeply. When you argue less, you preserve more of your precious energy for what truly matters. The Tao Te Ching, which shares many insights with Buddhist philosophy, offers this wisdom: those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. This is not about becoming mute or never expressing yourself. It is about choosing consciously when your words serve truth and when they only serve ego. It is about recognizing that sometimes your silence speaks louder and more eloquently than any argument ever could. Silence rearranges dynamics in mysterious ways. When you stop reacting predictably, people around you begin to shift and change. They may not understand why at first, but something deep in them recognizes your stillness and is called toward their own. And most importantly, silence creates space. Space for wisdom to arise naturally. Space for turbulent emotions to settle like sediment in still water. Space for the right action to become crystal clear. Part 4. Inner alignment over outer struggle, finding peace through harmony within. Have you ever noticed that when you are at war within yourself, everything outside seems to go wrong? The traffic is worse than usual. People are more annoying than ever. Small inconveniences feel like major catastrophes. The whole world seems to conspire against you. But when you are at peace within, even difficulties seem manageable. Even challenges feel like hidden opportunities. Even losses carry seeds of unexpected gain. This is not a mere coincidence. This is the law of reflection operating in your life. The Buddha taught clearly that our outer world is a mirror of our inner state. In the Dhammapada, he declared, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought." The mind is everything. What we think, we become. When there is conflict inside, when your thoughts say one thing, your words say another, and your actions contradict both, you create tremendous friction. Life feels unbearably hard because you are working against yourself at every turn. You are the boulder and the hard place, and you wonder why you feel crushed. But when you align, when your thoughts, words, and actions all flow from the same source, from your deepest values and truest nature, life begins to flow with you rather than against you. There is a beloved Zen story about a farmer and his horse that has been teaching this wisdom for centuries. One day, the farmer's only horse ran away into the wild hills. His neighbors gathered around, shaking their heads sadly. "What terrible luck," they said with great sympathy. The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned, and following behind it came 3 beautiful wild horses. The neighbors rushed over, their faces bright with excitement. "What wonderful luck," they exclaimed. The farmer replied calmly, "Maybe." The following day, the farmer's beloved son tried to ride one of the wild horses. He was thrown violently and broke his leg badly. The neighbors returned, their faces full of concern. "What terrible luck! How will you manage the farm?" Again, the farmer said only, "Maybe." The next week, military officers came to the village to draft all able-bodied young men for a dangerous war. Because the son's leg was broken, he was passed over and remained safely at home. The neighbors shook their heads in amazement. What wonderful luck! And once more, the farmer simply said, "Maybe." This farmer was not cold or indifferent to life's changes. He was aligned. He understood deeply that events themselves are neutral. It is only our resistance, our grasping, our frantic labeling of good and bad that creates our suffering. When you align internally, you stop fighting with reality. You stop exhausting yourself trying to control what cannot be controlled and predict what cannot be predicted. You begin to move with life rather than constantly struggling against it. This does not mean you become passive or stop caring. It means you become wise about where to place your precious energy. Part 5: Cultivating Unshakable Focus, the Buddhist Path to Inner Stillness. In the vast ocean, there are waves on the surface that rise and fall with every passing wind. Some days the waves are gentle, other days they are violent and terrifying. But deep below the churning surface, in the profound depths, the water is eternally still. No matter how violent the storm above, the depths remain calm and undisturbed. Your mind can learn to be like this ocean. On the surface, there will always be waves, thoughts arising and passing, emotions coming and going, external events demanding attention. But if you learn to anchor yourself in the depths of your being, those surface waves cannot truly disturb your fundamental peace. The Buddha called this quality of mind samadhi, a state of deep concentration and unshakable inner stability. It is not about suppressing thoughts or forcing the mind into artificial quiet. It is about training yourself to rest in pure awareness, watching the waves come and go without being helplessly tossed by them. How do we cultivate this unshakable focus in our daily lives? First, through the patience practice of attention. Every time you notice your mind wandering into anxious projections about the future or painful regret about the past, gently and kindly bring it back to the present moment. This is not a one-time achievement but a practice, repeated thousands upon thousands of times, until presence becomes your natural home. Second, by consciously reducing distractions. The Buddha often retreated to quiet forests and still groves, not because he was running away from life, but because he understood the immense value of creating space for depth. In our modern world, this might mean turning off unnecessary notifications, spending regular time in nature, or simply sitting in complete silence for a few minutes each day. Third, through the art of letting go of what you cannot control. Much of our mental noise comes from trying to manage things that were never ours to manage, other people's opinions of us, the outcomes of situations beyond our influence, the unchangeable past. When you release your tight grip on these impossibilities, you free enormous mental and emotional energy. There is a practice the Buddha taught called anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. It is beautifully simple yet profoundly powerful. You sit quietly, and you bring your complete attention to the breath flowing in and out. When the mind wanders away, as it surely will, you notice this wandering with great kindness and patience, and you gently return to the breath. This simple practice, done regularly with sincerity, begins to fundamentally change the structure of your attention. You become less reactive to provocations, less scattered by distractions, more rooted in the eternal here and now. From this deep rootedness, clarity naturally emerges. When your mind is not constantly churning like muddy water, you begin to see things exactly as they are. Solutions that seemed invisible become suddenly obvious. Decisions that felt overwhelming become refreshingly simple. Part 6: Choose yourself and watch life respond, the law of inner alignment. There is a beautiful secret woven into the very fabric of existence. It is this: life responds not to what you desperately chase, but to who you genuinely are. When you spend your energy running frantically after approval, after validation, after things outside yourself, life often seems to keep them tantalizingly just out of reach. But when you turn inward, when you choose yourself completely, when you stand firmly rooted in your own worth and deepest values, life begins to move toward you in mysterious and wonderful ways. This is not wishful magic. This is in alignment with how the universe actually operates. The Buddha spoke of this when he taught about karma. Karma is not divine punishment or arbitrary reward. Karma is simply the impersonal law of cause and effect. What you put out returns to you in kind. When you put out scattered, desperate, grasping energy, you attract more chaos and frustration. When you put out centered, self-respecting, peaceful energy, you attract harmony and unexpected grace. There is a story of a Zen master who lived in a simple hut at the edge of a small village. Despite his humble circumstances and lack of any promotion, people from all over the region traveled great distances to seek his wisdom. Lords and wealthy merchants, scholars and simple farmers, all made the long journey just to sit quietly with him for a few moments. One day, a young man who had been observing this phenomenon asked, "Master, how is it that you attract so many seekers without ever leaving your simple hut? Without ever advertising yourself or seeking fame or fortune? What is your secret?" The master smiled gently and pointed to a flowering tree visible through his small window. "Tell me, does this tree chase after the bees? Does it run after them, begging them to come taste its nectar? No. It simply blooms with all its heart. It becomes fully and completely what it was always meant to be. And the bees come naturally, irresistibly drawn by its authentic fragrance." He looked at the young man with infinite kindness. "This is the only secret. Become fully what you are. Stand firmly in your own truth without apology. Bloom exactly where you are planted. And watch with wonder how life comes to find you." This is the deepest teaching about choosing yourself. It is not about isolation or turning away from others. It is not about arrogance or cold indifference. It is about becoming so deeply rooted in your own being that you no longer need anything outside yourself to make you feel complete or worthy. And here lies the beautiful paradox. When you no longer need the world to complete you, the world freely offers its greatest treasures. Conclusion: the return to stillness, embracing peace in the present moment. We have traveled far together through these words. We have explored attention as sacred currency not to be wasted. We have examined self-focus as a profound responsibility rather than selfishness. We have discovered the transformative power of silence and non-reaction. We have understood that inner alignment ends outer struggle. We have learned about cultivating an unshakable focus that no storm can disturb. And we have seen how choosing yourself allows life to choose you in return. But let me leave you with this final, essential thought. All of these teachings, every story and every principle, point to one simple thing: the return to yourself. The return to this present moment. The return to the stillness that has always been within you, patient and faithful, waiting quietly for your attention to come home. You do not need to become someone else to find peace. You do not need to travel to distant lands or achieve impressive goals. The peace you have been seeking everywhere is not hiding in the future. It is here, Now, in the quiet space between your thoughts, in the gentle rhythm of your breathing, in the simple, miraculous awareness that you exist at all. The Buddha's last words to his beloved disciples were, "Work out your own salvation with diligence." Not someone else's salvation. Your own. Not someday when conditions are perfect. Now, with whatever you have, wherever you are. So as you go forward from this moment, carry this invitation in your heart. When the world grows loud and demanding, return to the sanctuary of silence. When life pulls you in 1,000 directions, return to yourself. When doubt and fear arise like clouds, return to your breath and watch them pass. You are the lamp. You are the light. And in every single moment, you possess the power to choose stillness over chaos, focus over distraction, yourself over everyone else's expectations. This is not the end of anything. This is the most beautiful new beginning. May you find the peace that does not depend on circumstances. May you discover the strength that arises from within. And may you know, deeply and completely, that you are enough, exactly as you are, in this very breath. Thank you for walking this sacred path together today. If this message has touched your heart, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Buddha Coha and share this video with someone who might need these words. Together, we are building a community of peace, one awakening heart at a time. Until we meet again, be infinitely gentle with yourself. The world needs your light more than you know.